We are expecting to see Paralympic track star Oscar Pistorius take the stand again tomorrow at his murder trial, and prosecutors will likely challenge his account of what happened the night he fatally shot his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp. And now her sister is speaking out about his testimony, saying, quote, he's trying to convince the court that they were really close and that he cared for her. It's not true. He is a disgusting liar, end quote. She and the rest of the world got a taste of Pistorius breaking down as the chief prosecutor went to work.
So you're getting emotional?
Yes, I'm very emotional, my lady.
Why?
Because it's a difficult time for me to remember.
But why would this question make you emotional?
Because this is a night I lost the person that I cared about. I don't know how people don't understand that.
She was standing right in front of the toilet door talking to you when you shot.
It's not true.
That's the only reasonable explanation for her standing upright. That's the only reasonable explanation why you shot her in the hip, where you did.
It's not true, my lady.
She wasn't scared of anything, except you. She wasn't scared of an intruder. She was scared of you.
It's not true, my lady.
Joining us now is Robert Schalk, Keisha Hebben, who are both defense attorneys and former prosecutors. All right, I just have to say, because I know it's a different country, different form or whatever, not true, my lady. What, you get to talk directly to the judge, apparently, in South Africa.
Well, when during a bench trial and there's no jury, he's more likely than not, they're obviously not showing him on camera, turning to the judge and saying, it's not true, my lady, because she's going to be the one who's finding what happened here, and he's talking to her directly as opposed to responding to the prosecutor.
Where are his defense attorneys? They don't get to say object. I mean, I'm not you guys, but wouldn't you be with your hand in the air saying, I object?
Harris, you're 100% correct. I would have objected because the prosecutor is very argumentative, and he's basically stating, you're this, you're that. You're not supposed to do that. And the first thing I thought was, why isn't his defense attorney objecting?
Right.
All right, so how's the prosecution doing, Robert? I'm curious because this is a tough spot to be in.
Right.
The guy's a serial crier on the stand, so you don't want to go after him too hard because you'll just make him break down and, I suppose, look sympathetic.
Right, but again, who's he looking sympathetic to? Because there's no jury here, I don't think the judge is really going to care about the whole emotional aspect of it. She'll give him time, but she's sitting there trying to find out what happened here. The emotional, jurors in the United States are always instructed, emotion is not a factor in this case, and the judges know that.
Does that work?
You know what? It doesn't with jury trials, and that's one of the things that defense attorneys will play on to say, you know what, if my client is guilty, which we will never admit, you want to appeal to the jury's sympathy. But with the judge, she's seen so many of these cases.
Yeah.
She's looking strictly at the facts that are presented and how the law applies to those facts.
Well, and it directly reflects back on her if she seems at all to be leaning in one side or the other. She knows she's just going to have to see this again, or potentially another judge will. Keisha, I read some of your notes on this case, and I was really startled to find that you never would have put him on the stand.
I wouldn't, because I feel that his account of what happened is so unbelievable that putting him on the stand with not having a jury trial is just going to open him up for more his credibility being impeached, because it doesn't make sense. And if I was the defense, I would say, you know what, the prosecutor has the burden of proof. Let's just let that be. And our argument in the end is that they did not prove every element of murder.
But I've always read, Robert, that you do put your star witness, your defendant, up on the stand if they are popular, good looking. I mean, check a few boxes. This guy's got, he's a track star. The world knows him.
He's a national hero, and this is where Keisha and I disagree. I would have put him on the stand, and here's why. There's no other living witness that can contradict what he's saying. So if he testifies, he's establishing what happened that night, and no one can get on the witness stand and say otherwise. And the cross-examination by the prosecution, albeit accusatory, is merely the prosecutor saying, well, she was standing behind the door, correct? No. I mean, that's not powerful stuff. He's denying everything that they're claiming occurred. So I think, if anything, he's trying to help himself. And secondarily to that, he's charged with murder, premeditated. You have to establish that it was not premeditated, that it was an accident. So worst case scenario, it's a manslaughter.
All right, real quickly about what happens this week and where you see this case going. Because, I mean, for prosecutors, if they're too tough on him, again, he starts to cry. When does that flip the switch with this judge and she says, wait a minute?
Right. Well, you know what? It does look bad, and the judge will look upon that as, you know, it's not a good thing that the prosecutor's doing. But I think that the way this crime was allegedly committed, it's going to be really difficult for the judge to use that and saying, you know what, I'm going to acquit this this defendant.
Or stop the questioning at some point. I'm just curious. I mean, at one point, and I don't want to gross people out, but they were bringing in buckets for him to be sick in because he couldn't stand to look at the evidence and to hear what's... That's got to have some effect on you if you're human.
Well,
Right.
Well, go ahead.
Some effect, yes, but to what extent? I mean, you have a situation of you take your witnesses as they are. You're not going to not question the most important witness in the case or cut it off because he's becoming overly emotional.
Or does it backfire?
It may, and a lot of times the judge will say, let's take a break so that the witness can compose themselves and get themselves together.
All right. Now, I read Keisha's notes, as I mentioned. I read yours too, Robert. You think he ought to go for manslaughter and just get rid of the murder? So you think he's up against it with this murder charge?
I think he's up against it with the murder charge. He had to take the witness stand. I believe he was boxed into a corner because I don't think relying on the forensic testimony alone would have gotten him the manslaughter. By him testifying, and I'm not saying that's what he wants. He wants to be acquitted.
Sure.
But at a worst case scenario for him, he's got to hope it's a manslaughter.
All right. I'm just glad you two were here. Thank you. Eric?
Well, Harris, a group of paralyzed men actually able to move their feet again. What's amazing new treatment that's giving new hope to thousands of paralyzed people. We'll have that straight ahead. Plus, a new weapon in the fight against hepatitis C. We'll tell you about the new drug researchers are describing as their major breakthrough. All that and a lot more about our health coming up next with the doctors on Sunday House Call.